Hello and welcome to my channel Crochet and Copy. My name is Judy. In my previous tutorial, I showed you how to make this beauty handbag and how to attach the bag handle. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to add the lining and how to add the magnet snaps so our bag is beautiful and nice and secure. And I'm going to put in the description below the tutorial for the bag, so check that out. Came out really nice, really nice. So let's get started. So these are supplies we're going to be using to line our handbag and also to secure it. We're going to be using a fabric quarter. It's a pre-cut fabric. And we're going to be using a regular sewing thread, a regular sewing needle. We're going to be using the magnet snap, and this is to close it up, make it nice and secure. And we're going to be using a few sewing pins and scissors, and of course our bag. And what we did is we made sure that our sewing thread matches up to the fabric to our bag, so it makes it easier when we're sewing it on. Everything matches up. Okay, so let's get started. So this is how our fabric looks when we open it up, unwrap it. So we're going to press it. But first I'm going to show you how we line it up so we could cut it so that we get a nice lining for it. So I went ahead and took off my bag handle because we're going to fold the fabric now. See, as I fold it, because this is going to be the inside of our bag. This is going to be the part that we see when we open our bag. And I made sure that when I fold it to the bottom so we don't have to sew there. Okay, so the top, and then it matches up to the, because we're going to sew up the edge, and of course we're going to stop here when we have the fold, and this is just going to be the part that flops over to our bag. So line it up, measure it up, make sure you have enough, because we're going to fold this part over when we do the inside. So give it enough, and then just cut. Like you see, you only have to cut one side, and then when you cut that one side, we'll be ready to start sewing it on. So when we finish cutting it, what I'm going to do, I just want to make sure, I'm going to press it so I take out some of the creases that are in our, because since it was folded pre-cut, it has those folds. So I'm just going to press it. Go ahead and do that too. It makes it looks nice, and I'll show you how we're going to sew up the edges. So I went ahead and I pressed it. So now I fold over, because we're going to fold it over because we want it to look nice inside our bag. So matches up when you do it. Make sure you have enough from the top too. Remember, when you cut it back again, because this will be the bottom of our bag. So line it up, fold it, and then we're going to pin it so we could start sewing up the edge. And we're just going to sew up to this side of the edge. So I'm going to pin it, but line it up. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying, because we're going to need enough to fold to the top too, because we're going to fold the top down. So I went ahead and pin it up so it'd be a little easier for us to sew. I'm going to sew it by hand. You could go ahead and sew it with your sewing machine. It's all up to you. So I'm just going to go regular sewing method and sew up this edge right here. So I'm going to start from the bottom, sewing up. This is how it looks when I finish sewing up my edge. I try to keep my stitches as straight as I can, as neat as I can. But anyway, moving on. This would have been if our fabric was of a different design. This would have been the right side of our fabric that will show inside our bag. And then this would have been the wrong side of our bag. fabric, okay? So you're just aware of that if you're doing a multicolor or design fabric. But I like it plain. Keep it easier that way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to put it in our bag, because we're going to start now put it in to line it up with our bag, and then we could line it into the bag. Okay, hopefully you can see good. So now what you're going to do is you're going to just fold the edge over, and we're going to pin it, and the top two you're going to fold it. If you want to, you could cut off more if you have more, but I'm going to keep what I have. And then just neatly make sure it fits around the edges before you pin it on, and then we could start sewing on after we finish pinning. So go ahead, line it up, make sure it fits around. Okay, you're going to bend it under so we have a nice clean edge. Okay, go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you there. So this is how it looks when I pin it up. The inside, how I pin it. Because we're going to flip it over like that. So that's why we did that. Make it nice. And we're going to start sewing it on. And of course, as you go along, you take out your sewing pin. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sewing. I'm going to start sewing from this edge. So I'm going to start inside the bag first to hold it on. That's where I'm going to start. So I have my sewing needle with my thread. I put a couple knots in. I want to hide it, so I'm going to put it in first our yarn or bag. And then I'm just going to start. So to anchor it, I'm going to first make sure you get the edge and then come out. Since we're inside, come out through the fabric. And then just to anchor it, we're going to do this, okay? Go back as close as you can, right through the bag itself. Hopefully you're seeing good. And back again. Okay. All right, so now we're going to do it one more time. And now we're going to take, and we're just going to pick up a little bit of it, the fabric right there. And we're going to use just the barely the top of it, of our fabric. Pull it up like that. And now we go through. Like I said, move your pins as you go along through our fabric, through the bag, our crochet bag. And that's how we're going to do it, how we're going to sew it on. So just come through at this time and just go through the crochet bag, and now we're going to go through the fabric. We're just going to pick up the little top parts right at the top of our bag, like that. See that? And now back through the crochet part of the bag, and then come back down again through the crochet bag. So that's it. That's how we're going to do it. I want to let you know that I took off our little keychain snaps from the side of our bag, so we could, this will help us so when we go around, we have no problem. Of course, we could put it back on. Okay, this is how we look when we finish actually lining her back and then inside of her bag. So now what we're going to do is we're going to attach our little magnets, and the heavier part, the bigger part if you will, we put it in the center, and then of course we're going to take the lighter little part and we're going to make sure that we center it also too before we start sewing it on to the top of our bag. And we're going to use the regular sewing method to put it on. So I put a couple of knots in my sewing thread and attach it to my sewing needle. I don't want that little tail to show inside our bag. So what I'm going to do is put it like here underneath the magnet and go through the bag and go through the lining. Okay, if you see it okay. So that's how I'm going to start off. Although if I pull it all the way, you come out from the... Now we're going to start attaching it. And you're just going to sew through the little loops that they give you. That's all we're going to do. Yeah, so I went about 5 times so I could pick up enough for right there to hold it on. So we're going to try at our best to hide it so we don't show too many stitches in there. So we're going to try to maneuver it that when we do it, it's still like up at that first one we put on. If you understand what I'm saying, take the needle and just kind of gauge it, see how it's like kind of bent. Don't want to be too much a big gap inside to show. And see, it comes out here. And so go ahead and do that for the others, because you're going to have to do it. After this one, it will be 2 more times, but do it about 5 times in and out till you get it secure, and then move on, do it 5 times, and then do the other one 5 times, okay? Now we're going to get it centered so that when we flip our bag over, it closes up. So what I did, I cut off the sewing thread I'm going to use, but I didn't put in a knot in it. What I'm going to do is just come from the top and then go through it. So what I'm going to do is to make sure that I'm not going to pull it all the way through. I just want to make sure that I have it centered. This way we could pull this out back because it's not secure, okay? So that's what we're going to do. Just make sure that we have it lined up so that when we close it, it matches up. If not, you adjust it so it matches up, okay? So we did that about 5 times too, to make sure that it's secure. And of course we're going through the whole thickness of the bag with the lining and through a crochet. And like with the color thread, it helps hide our sewing. So we're gonna do the other 3 more that's left the same way, basically what we did to attach our first magnet. When you do it and you go around, try not to pull on our little bobble stitch. Try to go between our little bobble stitch, because we don't want to pull on the design of our bobble stitch. So that's it. We finished attaching our magnet snaps to our handbag so it could close up. Yay! We did great work. I think it came out so lovely, so lovely. Very nice. So that's it. We're finished we completed doing our beauty handbag by putting on our lining and actually putting on our magnets to keep it nice and secure. I think it came out very lovely. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.